far in the news, you know. But again, some people are born to change. I guess I was just a change agent. I guess my genes from Africa was to confront things and not be satisfied with what is, but what could be. So I began a quest to being a student protester. The first chance I got, first sit-in, February 13th, 1960. 4 inches of snow, all we had was little buddy sneakers, you know. But you couldn't resist that. The call for change and justice was just too strong inside my bowels. I just had to move. I had to make things happen.
And so what you say, you became part of that first movement out of the Nashville area.
Absolutely.
Well, explain that. I mean, what happened and what was the
Well, the movement in Nashville was primarily, believe it or not, led by a female from Chicago. Diane Nash was a student at Fisk University who became the obvious spokesperson for the movement. But it took the TSU students. It was called A&I, by the way, Haney. It was called Tennessee Agricultural Industrial School. We provided the troops. There was more of us than there were Fisk students. And I was a local boy, so I provided a lot of networking. And plus, I was a member of Capitol Hill Church, which is Kelly Mills Smith's church, and I then became a person that did a lot of working with the church to keep it open, to get keys and keep it clean, and it became the hub. Our church became the hub. But Fisk University did provide a lot of intellectual leadership, and that was good. Everybody had their own role. American Baptist College provided a spiritual role, and the movement in Nashville became a model for how to get any movement started. In fact, that's what we did. On weekends, we would be out of town, traveling to other cities, teaching folks how to start protests. We became that efficient and that effective because we totally control our protests. We always had ourselves under control. We always knew what was going to happen next. We always had the ability to anticipate what would happen. So we took our techniques everywhere else.
You know, I think when we look at that movement of the 1960s that would eventually be referred to as the Civil Rights Movement, Mr. Lillard, I think that there are so many young people today who really don't understand what the fuss was all about. Looking back in the period prior to 1960, give us some information from your perspective in terms of American society at that time. I think you've already indicated segregation, the water fountains, etc. But what impact did that have on people growing up in the South?
Well, it was a very positive impact. I know folks going to say, that man's crazy. How could segregation be positive? Well, let's look at it. There were very few locks on doors in those days. There was no such thing as burglar alarms, all right? All the kind of alarms they have on cars now didn't exist then. Why? Why didn't it exist? Because each ethnic group, and in particular our ethnic group, was very self-sufficient. Now you say, well, that's terrible. Well, let's look at that. Is it terrible to have an old algebra book that everybody uses in the class, which means that every ninth grade class uses an old algebra book, maybe a little ragged and torn, but they learn algebra. They learn what the Pythagorean theorem is. They learn percentages. They learn how to graph. Now we have integration. But very few black children take algebra. All the books are new. There's all kinds of computers. But I challenge you to go into schools now and you'll see where the black kids are. You'll see how many drop out. The dropout rate in Nashville is outrageous. 40% of the black children never make it out of high school. So where is the progress? We were apart, but we learned how to read and write. We learned how to say yes sir and no sir. We knew that there was a job at the end of school. We knew we could take shop, take tailoring, take sewing, learn a marketable skill so you could negotiate in life. You had some options. Our kids have no options. Therefore, they don't see any relevance of civil rights. Now, they have, on their own volition, to a degree, got caught in that snare. And they're very bitter, and they're very hostile, but they understand that they're in a hell of a predicament because of this so-called integration, which has basically been simply a tool to exploit, a tool to direct and control and manipulate another ethnic group whose leadership, unfortunately, didn't see the big picture. So I think looking back at the movement, looking back pre-60, we did not see that we should have created a strategy that we would retain our ethnic identity. We would retain the ethnic solid base of our culture. At the same time, move higher into the economics.
Very good.
We traded too much away.
And I didn't mean to interrupt, but we've got a commercial break that's coming up here, and after which we'll come back and we'll talk later about it.